In a world that often rushes past moments of joy, these two couples chose to slow down, breathe deeply, and celebrate not just each other, but the power of enduring love and peace. Their laughter echoed like music written by years of understanding, forgiveness, and resilience. It wasn't perfection that brought them here, it was commitment through chaos, holding hands through storms, and finding light even when days were dark. Their joy wasn't just about romance, it was about friendship, loyalty, and the silent victories of everyday love. The glow in their eyes wasn't just for the present moment, it was the reflection of a shared history, of pain transformed into purpose, of peace and, not given. True love isn't found, it's built. And peace isn't the absence of struggle, it's the choice to face it together with kindness, over and over again. Let their celebration be a reminder, love isn't about grand gestures, but about the small moments that add up, the silent support, the unspoken trust, the shared laughter. If they can find peace and love in this noisy world, so can you. They stood hand in hand, not because everything had always been easy, but because they had chosen, time and again, to stay. Through sleepless nights, misunderstood words, financial setbacks, and silent dinners, they learned that love is not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet endurance. Sometimes it's choosing grace over blame. Their celebration wasn't just about happiness, it was about healing. It was about learning how to apologize without shame, to forgive without keeping score, and to grow without growing apart. They laughed not because life had been perfect, but because they had survived the imperfect together. Their eyes held stories of near endings that became new beginnings. And their dance was a testament, you can begin again, with the same person, as many times as it takes. Life lesson. Love is not a constant feeling, it's a daily decision. Marriage is not about never falling, it's about always choosing to rise again together. Let their story remind you, real relationships aren't made in grand declarations but in the quiet choices, to listen, to stay, to grow, and to forgive. The couples who last are not there. There were nights they turned away from each other in silence. Days they questioned if love was enough. They faced disappointments, betrayals, and broken expectations. But somehow, they always found their way back. Not because it was easy, but because they chose each other, again and again. Today, they celebrate, not just love, but survival. Not just happiness, but healing. They are proof that real love isn't found in fairy tales, but in the messy, beautiful work of two people who refuse to give up. They laugh louder now. They hold each other tighter. Not because they've never been hurt, but because they've learned how to fight for peace and grow through pain. There were nights they turned away from each other in silence. Days they questioned if love was enough. They faced disappointments, betrayals, and broken expectations. But somehow, they always found their way back. Not because it was easy, but because they chose each other, again and again. Today, they celebrate, not just love, but survival. Not just happiness, but healing. They are proof that real love isn't found in fairy tales, but in the messy, beautiful work of two people who refuse to give up. They laugh louder now. They hold each other tighter. Not because they've never been hurt, but because they've learned how to fight for peace and grow through pain. Love that lasts isn't built on perfect moments, it's built on imperfect people who never stop choosing each other. So if you're hurting, tired, or wondering if love is worth it, look at them. Love can still win. And so can you. They were never the loudest couple in the room. No flashy posts. No perfect pictures. Just two people who quietly, faithfully, chose each other every single day. They went through storms no one saw. There were times they almost walked away. Times when the silence between them felt heavier than words. But even in the silence, they stayed. They learned to speak love in the hard moments, a hand on a tired shoulder, a warm meal after a cold fight, a whispered "I am still here" when it mattered most. And now, look at them. Laughing like they are young again. Holding hands like it's the first time. Dancing like they know every step was worth it. Pride in the life they built. The family they raised. The fights they survived. The peace they earned. Their love wasn't perfect, it was real. And that made it unbreakable. life lesson. Real love won't always feel like fireworks. Sometimes it feels like showing up when it's hardest. And one day, you look back and realize, those quiet, hard moments were the ones that made it beautiful. So if you're in a season of struggle, don't give up. Love is still worth the fight. And joy, the kind that brings tears to your eyes, is still ahead of you. Bound by love, led by grace. In the quiet strength of true love, there lies a power greater than pride, submission not of weakness, but of devotion. A man who leads with kindness, and a woman who follows with trust, walk hand in hand, not behind, not ahead, but side by side through every storm and sunrise. Their joy is not in fleeting pleasures but in enduring moments, laughing at old jokes, holding each other during trials, and choosing love even when it's hard. They build their days with faith, forgiveness, and the kind of sacrifice that turns a house into a home. They don't fight to be right, they fight to stay together. And in their quiet submission to each other's needs, they find the greatest strength. It's not about control, it's about care. Not about winning, but serving. Not about being perfect, but being present. Let this be the lesson: the happiest couples are not the ones who never struggle, but the ones who never give up. Love that endures is love that surrenders pride for peace, ego for understanding, and fear for faith. May their journey teach us all, true love thrives where humility lives. In a world full of noise, they found quiet in each other's arms. No riches adorned their home, no grand luxuries filled their days, but their hearts beat in harmony, and that was enough. They laughed without reason, held hands without occasion, and danced under the silence of stars. Pain knocked on their door many times, but love always answered. Together, they turned struggles into stories, scars into strength, and ordinary days into timeless memories. What they lacked in wealth, they overflowed in devotion. And in that quiet, imperfect life, they found a love that was whole, eternal, and unshakably real. They weren't perfect, but they were perfect for each other. Through storms and sunshine, they stayed side by side, not because life was easy, but because their love was real. They didn't chase what glittered, they treasured what mattered: warm hugs, deep talks, shared dreams, and quiet moments that felt like forever. Even when life gave them less, their hearts gave them more. They laughed like kids, supported like best friends, and loved like soulmates. And in that simple, beautiful way of being together, they proved something powerful: peace doesn't come from a perfect life, but from two people choosing to love each other every single day. The beauty of two, a quiet love that spoke loud. They weren't famous. They didn't live in a big house or drive expensive cars. They had no trophies on their shelves, no trending photos online. If you passed them on the street, you might not look twice. But if you sat with them, if you listened, you'd learn the kind of love that could rewrite your idea of forever. They met young, and life wasn't easy. There were days when they had to choose between paying bills and buying groceries. Nights when they cried silently, holding each other through the ache of things they couldn't fix. But they never turned away. They faced every storm together. When the roof leaked, when jobs were lost, when dreams had to be put on hold, they held on tighter. What made them special wasn't the absence of problems. It was how they faced them, with grace, with patience, and with a kind of love that didn't shout, but whispered through every small act of care. He would wake up before her just to make her tea the way she liked it: 2 spoons of sugar and a drop of honey. She would leave notes in his coat pocket reminding him he was enough, especially on days he forgot. They danced slowly in the kitchen when no one was watching. They forgave easily. They chose each other, on the hard days especially. They didn't post every moment, didn't perform love for the world. Their love was private, sacred, built in quiet ways the world no longer celebrates. But it was real. So real it made others believe in softness again. Their friends often asked the secret: how do you stay in love so long? They would smile gently and say, we never stopped being kind. We listened more than we spoke. And we never let pride win. There were seasons of loss, loved ones passing, health scares, the slow ache of growing older. There were disappointments too, plans that never unfolded, children they longed for that never came, or came only to be taken too soon. And yet, they found joy. Not in having everything, but in loving through everything. They taught people that love isn't just a feeling, it's a choice, every single day. A choice to be gentle when it's easier to be cold. A choice to stay when the world tells you to leave. A choice to build, to nurture, to believe in the strength of two hearts committed to something bigger than themselves. As the years passed, their faces changed. Wrinkles formed from all the laughter, and lines traced the pain they had endured. But their eyes still sparkled when they looked at each other. Like they were seeing something the rest of the world had missed. Thank you for watching. I hope you found it informative and learned something valuable.